The other option is to do your backup course. Now I'm very much against this. If I've replied to you and you've asked me, can I just do another degree, then you'll know that I'm so against just doing another degree, because honestly, there is no point. You want to be a doctor, right? You want to do medicine, so do medicine. I mean, thousands of people apply for biomedical science as their backup because they feel like, you know what, if I'm not going to get into medical school, I'm going to do biomedical science because that's the closest thing that I can get to medical school, and it will be easier for me to apply for graduate entry medicine or something like that. Well, it's not. My friend Catherine, let's call her Catherine, she did biomedical science because she wasn't accepted in any of the 4 medical schools that she applied to. She did biomedical science thinking that, you know what, I'm going to be a better graduate, a more sort of well set up graduate than somebody who did English or for example. And when she applied for graduate entry medicine, she didn't get in, and she applied again for another year and she didn't get in. And you know, it didn't matter that she had biomedical science. It doesn't matter. I'm really against people doing biomedical science thinking they're gonna get into medicine having biomedical science. I'm not against biomedical science as a degree. I'm sure it's a good degree, but if you're doing it for the fact that you think you're gonna get into medical school because you have biomedical science, then don't do it. My advice would be, you know, it's better to stay at home and do nothing than to do this, because firstly, you're committing yourself to 3 years to a course that, you know, you're not that interested in. You're just doing it so that you can get closer to medical school. You're committing 3 years to that. You're committing to 3 years of student loan, which you know, now it's so expensive to go to university, and yeah, you will get student loan from Student Finance England, but you still have to pay back, and tuition alone is like 9 grand now, which it just blows my mind. When I started university, I had to pay just under £4,000, and I thought, bloody hell, that's a lot of money. But 9 grand, people, 9 grand, and you're just paying it to do a degree that you don't even want to do. My advice would be, don't do it if you're not about it, you know. What else? I applied to do medicinal chemistry as my backup. I actually got a scholarship to do medicinal chemistry, but I didn't take it up because I had my offers for medical school. But if I didn't have the offers I had, I would have done it because I really liked chemistry, and I wasn't going to do medicine. I was just going to you know, I wanted to be in the lab. I liked chemistry. I wanted to make medicines, and that was the path that I was going to take. I was going to be a lab scientist forever and ever and ever. I wasn't even thinking about applying for graduate entry medicine because I wasn't about that. It was either medicine or I'm going to be a lab scientist, and thankfully I did medicine because I think it's a lot easier. Yeah, don't do biomedical science just for the sake of it. If you're somebody who hasn't applied to medical school yet and you're thinking about which backup to put down, don't put down biomedical science because you think it's close to medicine, because it's not. It doesn't guarantee you a place you know, in medical school. It doesn't make it any easier for you to apply to medical school. Yes, once you're in medical school, it might be easier because you know the sort of the biology and the sort of sciencey things that you need to know. But to get into medical school, it doesn't offer you any more advantage than somebody who did maths. My friend came into medical school after having done geography, and you know, do whatever degree you want, just don't do biomedical science for the sake of it. So things to bear in mind if you do your backup course is, number 1, Student Finance England will only fund your first degree only. So this is something that I didn't know about when I applied to medical school the first time, or not even the first time, like I applied any more times than the first time. This is something that I didn't know when I applied to medical school. I thought Student Finance England will just fund you, you know, for whatever course you want to do, but actually they just fund your first degree. So my friend did pharmacology first, and then she came to do medicine, and Student Finance England didn't fund her. They didn't. No, they didn't fund her. So she had to fund her she had to get a loan from a bank to fund her 5 years of medical school. Now imagine that. You've wasted 3 years doing biomedical science, which you didn't even want to do, and now you have 5 years ahead of you and you have no way of funding it. You have to get a bank loan. I mean, if you're going to do medicine, even if you think you're going to do it as a graduate, then try by all means to not get funding for your first degree. Better to get funding for 5 years than to get funding for 3 years, because honestly, it is tough to work for money as well as to be a medical student, honestly. Another thing to bear in mind is that graduate entry medicine is even more competitive than the usual medicine, obviously. There are less spaces, it's just ridiculous. If you're going to apply to medical school, better to just apply now. Take a gap year, apply after 1 year, rather than thinking, I'm going to do biomedical science, I'm going to get in, because you're not gonna. Yeah, it's just more competitive to be a graduate entry medical student, but obviously it's doable because there are graduate entry medics out there, but it's a lot more competitive. Don't ask me anything about the process of being a graduate applicant to medical school, because I don't know. I'm sorry. I mean, I could find out for you, but I'm not going to pretend that I know, because I don't know. Anyway guys, I will do the gap year video as a separate video because I feel like this one is really long. Sorry I've rambled and ranted a lot about doing biomedical science. I don't hate biomedical science. I think it's a good degree, I guess, but I'm really against people just doing it for the sake of doing it. Hopefully it's been useful, and hopefully some people have made some minds up after the information that I've given them. If there are any questions, then by all means pop them down in the description bar, and I'll answer them. I should be better at answering things now, honestly. Sorry if I haven't replied to your comment just yet. I will get to it, honestly. Yeah, I will see you on my next video, guys. Bye.